Ahoy friends, welcome to Building the Alpha Dory. I'm Dan, and this is a project to build a Chamberlain Racing dory from John Gardner's The Dory Book. Illustrations by Sam Manning. Today we're going to be out in the yard, hopefully finishing up painting the outside of the Alpha Dory. I've got the bottom painted. I've got a primer and a undercoat on the top sides. So we're going to be putting on the final coat of top sides paint. But primarily this is going to be a video about cutting in and painting your dory without using masking tape. So let's get out there and get to it. So it's been a absolutely glorious early June day here at the Lapstrake Dory Shed. Got a coat on the center board. This will take one more. Got the final coat on the rudder. Final coat of bottom of red paint. So yeah, I've been doing a bunch of stuff, but it's just perfect weather. It's in the probably low 70s at the moment. A little bit breezy earlier on. I was getting some pollen and a couple a couple maple spinners in the paint. Got a primer coat on the steering yoke, the rudder yoke. So yeah, like I said, this video is mostly going to be about cutting in and painting a dory without using masking tape, which I don't know why anyone would use masking tape, and by anyone I mean any personality. If you're somebody who's like old-timey and values traditional methods and whatnot, well then you're definitely gonna not want to use masking tape, which is a fairly new invention. Cutting in by hand is as far as a quality job goes, it's definitely going to do you good. And then if you're somebody who's more up and coming, who's concerned about environmental issues or whatever, there's last thing you'd ever want to see is mounds of paint coated encrusted masking tape going into the trash cans and into our landfills, all over the country or whatever. Plus you got to burn gas to transport the masking tape to the store, then buy it, and you got to power the machines that are making the tape and everything else. So, and then of course, if you're somebody who's a bit of a spendthrift and doesn't like spending money, well, a few extra minutes cutting in a line in exchange for the expense of all that tape, it seems like a pretty good deal to me. So I've cut in this side already. I'll talk a little bit about the brushes. You can find some pretty good how-to tutorial type stuff from painter guys on YouTube, and I'm sure they know as much or more about me than me about it. So yeah, I'll just kind of try to focus more on the boat specific stuff. If you're going to be, there are a couple things that are really sort of unique to the situation of painting a boat by hand without masking tape versus, say, cutting in a room in your house or some such. So yeah, let me grab the brush and the paint and we'll get to it. Alright, so An important part of getting a good paint line by hand is a good brush. No surprise there. This is a Worcester silver tip. A lot of the guys online, the house painters, will talk about stiff bristle brushes, especially when they're doing rougher wall surfaces and whatnot. With a boat, usually you've got a fairly smooth surface. So I find that it's not a big deal if you've got a softer brush, and the softer brushes tend to just hold that much more paint, so you can go that much further without having to re-wet your brush. Second thing, so decent brush. You gotta, whatever paint you're using, I'm assuming it's going to be a sort of a traditional oil-based paint, which may cost a little bit more, but it's going to last a lot longer over the long haul. So you'll find yourself having to repaint less often, which means you'll be using less material. So you don't want to soak your brush, of course. Just dip the tip. That's an important part of the whole process. And you want to start about, depending on how skilled you are, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, maybe further when you're first getting the hang of it, away from the edge that you want to cut in. You want to lay the brush on the surface and see how the bristles are sort of flowing and depositing paint, and then bring that line up to the final line you want. The other thing is brush control. On a small brush like this, I want at least I want to try and get 3 fingers on the brush, on the back of the brush, so that I can apply pressure and vary the distance of the bristles from the edge that I'm painting. So I'll just give a little. So yeah, it doesn't really matter which direction you start in, whatever feels comfortable. And you just want to put the brush on the surface and bring the tips of the bristles up and run it along the line that you want to paint. You don't want to compress the brush so much that you're distorting the bristles on the surface. You want the bristles to pretty much fall as they are oriented in the brush itself. So you don't want to pile up. You don't want to contort the brush and pile up a bunch of bristles in one spot. And just bring that paint line right up to where it's got to go, and then move along. So, okay, so some of the aspects of painting a boat that are different than a house. Well, one of the things is, with a boat, you actually can move the boat around. And in this case, the boat is upside down. So it's much easier to paint. It's much easier to paint the boat, the top sides of the boat, especially this boat with so much flare. It's much easier to paint this part of the boat with the boat upside down than right side up, and you're underneath the boat, down low, underneath, trying to paint up. It's not a good look. So the boat's upside down, taking full advantage of that. We cut the bottom, we fiberglass the bottom. And now while it's out here and while it's upside down, I'm painting it. The next thing is, so there's different lines, there's different paint lines. There's this paint line and there's this paint line. And if it was a Centennial, I've got 3 more paint lines because she's red, white, and blue on the top sides. But the thing is, what you want to do is you want to be painting, if you can, you want to be cutting in on the down side of a line. Because if you're cutting in on the top side, and you get a little extra paint, it's going to run down. Whereas if you're cutting in on the bottom, it's just going to pool up along the brush, and then it'll sag, and then you can just brush it out. It's not going to run into your next color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this whole thing, and then the last thing I do is I'm going to touch up the rail. I'm going to go along the rail with a really dark combination of pine tar, black paint, and linseed oil, and I'll be able to cut in on that surface, and it won't run down into the white. It'll run down into the rail color. The other thing is you need two brushes. So I got another brush out here ready to go. This is the brush. It's a 3-inch Worcester Yachtsman. This is a 2-inch Worcester Silvertip. So the Yachtsman, the 3-incher, is going to lay on the paint. I'm not going to paint the whole boat with the brush that I'm cutting in with. It's way too small. The other thing is the Worcester is a stiffer bristle as well, which when you're just laying on paint, that's when the stiffer bristles are really a benefit, because you can push the paint with it and get it on there faster. So yeah, let me do a bit more, and yeah, then I'll bring you back when we're getting towards the transom. So as I go along, like I said, there's a little bit of a ridge, and I make sure that I'm brushing out any drips that start forming. And the other thing is I want to feather the bottom edge, blend it in as best I can, because that's gonna dry before I come back with the big brush and do the rest of the top sides. Alright, so like I said, I'll bring you back when I'm finishing up towards the stern and show you a couple more tricks. Okay, so another hint for when you're cutting in is get to know the paint that you're using. So I'm cutting in with this white over this red. Now you wouldn't think it, this red is so dark, but the crazy thing is, if I was trying to cut in the red over the white, you can see the white paint right through this red. This red paint does not hide, does not cover well at all. This is 3 coats of red, and 1 coat of white is covering this red. This white would shine right through under 1 coat of the red. So it's really good to know how your paint is how translucent your paint is. That can help you figuring out, what coats of paint you want to put on first. This is a topsides paint. This boat's going to be trailered. if this were a bottom paint, this would go on right over the white and hide it in one coat easy. That wouldn't be an issue. But just as a general rule, it's good to know how translucent your paint is and which paint you're going on with when. Another thing is when you're getting into a tight corner, like in these laps, you want to start with the brush in the tight spot in the corner. You don't want to try and paint into that corner. You want to start the brush in the corner and then paint out of it. That's really the only way to get these tight corners even close to good looking. So the other thing I'm doing is, like I was saying, I'm dragging the paint away from the line, from the cut line that I'm painting to, and I'm making sure that I give myself a good 3 inches or so that when I go back and fill in, do the real lay down paint, a lot of paint with the 3-inch brush, then I don't have to waste any time being careful about how close I get to the line, because I've painted full 3 inches away from it. So I'm just able to slop on the paint. And this has taken me probably 15 minutes per side. I mean, it's not a big job at all on even on a 21-foot racing dory. Now it's a little bit bigger of a job on Centennial. So the other thing is, if you haven't seen my video about scribing the waterline, that's an important thing. You need some sort of a reference to cut into when you're cutting these lines. There's a scribe line in here. I've got another video about scribing a traditional waterline and how to do that without using any power equipment, no laser level or anything. So anyway, I've got the scribe line that I'm cutting into, which is important for a successful, oops. Looks like I got some paint on there. Let me go grab always have a rag at hand so that you can clean up if you've got any issues. Yeah, so it's looking good, and I'm just about done cutting this in. I'll hit the transom down here where I just scribed in the hull number. So seal that with some paint, and well, I got to do the whole transom anyway, but I'll do that with the big brush. All right, well, hopefully that gives you guys some ideas for painting your own boats or painting your own Alpha Dory when you're finished with the look of the woodworking and whatnot when you get to that point. So yeah, thanks, massive thank you to everyone who's watched, liked, subscribed, and contributed to the project. We've actually got an unboxing or two coming up, hopefully next video. Yeah, some donations and some exciting little bits and pieces of hardware that are going to be going on the dory as well. So yeah, until next time, have a great day, and look forward to seeing you guys all out on the water. Bye.